Hey!
All right, good afternoon. So on January 22nd, 2022, Carlos Dominguez was 87 years old, and he's in a parking lot of a Mexican food restaurant that's on the side of Highway 181. And he has been diagnosed with stage 4 kidney disease, and he has refused treatment. There is video of the crash, and you will see that his driving facts are that he's pulling through the parking lot or rolling at the parking lot. And if Highway 181 is here, he's going at an angle in which he cannot clearly see anything that's coming up from behind him. And not only is he going at an angle, he doesn't step on his brakes that can be seen. He doesn't use a turn signal. He never comes to a 90-degree. This particular parking lot is a problem because it is just, there is no barrier to keep you from driving across it. To cross this Highway 181 is 2-lane traffic going in either directions. And then you can take crossovers, right, to get to the other side. But it's a divided by land in between, right? So this particular parking lot is a problem because there's a long stretch of parking lot that abuts Highway 181 that doesn't prevent anyone from going into it. And so that's problem number one with this like situation and set of circumstances. But the second problem is the fact that Carlos Dominguez never once looks for if anyone's coming. And you'll see in the video that there is an 18-wheeler that is going, that zooms past. And as soon as the 18-wheeler clears him, he just darts across. He never looks to see if there's anyone else behind the 18-wheeler. Now, this is a tragedy. Someone did pass away. They did not pass away because of the acts of Samuel. What happened that day was that, as you will find out later, medical records will indicate that that he was on or taking, had just the day before seen his medical provider, and that he was taking muscle relaxants as well as Benadryl over-the-counter prescriptions and stuff that could have impaired him. So we're going to bring you testimony. We anticipate you're going to see that. You're also going to see that his zipper was down, and that because of the driving pattern, we believe that the evidence will show that either he was passed out or potentially was trying to commit suicide because of the situation that he is in. Because no reasonable person would have driven the way he did under that fact pattern and put himself in the middle of a heavily traveled, fast-moving lane of traffic. Now, the driving facts of Samuel, yes, he was going fast, but he was if you look at 2 lanes like going the same direction, he was in the lane furthest away from where Mr. Dominguez would have entered. And he immediately, upon him entering the highway, puts on his brakes. Now, the evidence is going to show a conflict, I anticipate, with their expert and our expert. You're going to hear from 2 different experts that are going to talk to you about whether or not Samuel could have caused this accident, like was the cause of the accident. And so we're going to break that down for you with the evidence that we have. And what you're going to see is there's some flaws in the state's expert testimony. And one of the things is that they're going to design all of the numbers they give you on the presumption that it's a 5-second back. But what happens is that Carlos Dominguez doesn't enter the highway until we're 2 seconds in, 2 seconds away from the crash. So the difference between doing calculations that start at 5 seconds back versus 2 seconds back from the crash makes a huge difference, because when, or if you assume that anybody was driving the speed limit or even slightly over the speed limit, and you do the calculations at 2 seconds back when he enters the highway, there would have been no way to ever avoid this crash. So Carlos Dominguez didn't look, and there is a law that you'll hear about, and it is the Texas Transportation Vehicle Entering the Highway from a Private Road or Driveway. And it's the right-of-way law, right? It says anyone entering the highway shall give right-of-way to the people on the highway. So it's a shall, and he broke that law. And so you're going to see that that is really what this case all comes down to, is the fact that Carlos Dominguez put anybody who would have been in that highway at that point, regardless of what speed they were going, would have put them in danger and possibly killed them. The only reason my client is probably sitting here today.
I'm going to object as to argumentative.
I'll
sustain
The evidence would show.
Okay, so I've talked to you about the experts that you're going to hear from the accident reconstruction from the state side and from the defense side. But we're also going to anticipate you hearing from the person who did the autopsy. And you're going to find out that the autopsy doesn't test for everything. And they never requested the medical records to find out what systemic issues or other problems that Carlos Dominguez had been suffering before they make all of their analysis of the case, which is problematic because it goes to whether or not he was impaired at the time of the accident. So at the end of this, I feel confident that you will return a verdict of not guilty in this case, because it was the acts of Carlos Dominguez, his own acts, that resulted in his fatal tragedy. And to that we are greatly, saddened, but it was unavoidable, and sometimes tragedies, they do happen, but that does not make them a crime. Thank you.
All right, state, you may call your first witness.
This
Hey!